Welcome to the Challenge Chronicles. I'm Devin Jordan. I'm with Trace Armstrong and Rob McIntyre. We are here to talk about All Stars 2, Episode 4. Superb all around. I'm under the assumption we're all in agreement. I think Rob is the only person that haven't heard his general take on this yet.
I mean, I thought it was exceptional, so it seems like we're all in the same ballpark here.
Yeah. I mean, we're in best episode ever territory at the moment, like, of our list of best episodes ever. Like, this episode had everything we love about the challenge, and it didn't even have a party in it. Like that, I mean, like a fun party. Like, it was phenomenal. I watched it 3 times prior to this recording, if that gives anybody indication.
I feel like there wasn't like even any filler content too. Like everything was like the Nehemiah stuff with the beard. I thought was hilarious. The Ayanna with her jersey under the dress was outstanding.
There was I mean that was my whole thing about this episode is it was super tight, right? There was no downtime. Every moment there was something going on that was super interesting in one way or another.
Mm-hmm. It was phenomenal. I feel like we just need to start from the beginning because we don't want to miss anything here. Like this thing is incredible. So
I mean it pretty much all got teed off based off of, or at least what the editors tried to portray, is from the conversation that MJ had with Darrell about how they really wanted to try and solidify their alliance, right, between Darrell, Derrick, Brad, Kahada, and MJ, right? Darrell wanted to, MJ wanted to make that the core alliance. They showed Nehemiah overhear this. Nehemiah goes to Latarian and Steve to tell them what he's heard. And the MVP of this episode, I don't think there's really much of a debate. Sure, Ayanna had some funny moments, but Steve is essentially the person that we wanted to be
over
on the
Casey.
show. Yeah, for sure. Steve was the one who masterminded all of this.
I guess that's fair. I would hesitate in awarding him like sole credit just because I feel there was a lot of I think Nehemiah was very integral. No. I think Casey was very integral. Well, he was the one who proposed the plan at first.
Steve was the one.
Steve proposed.
No, it was Steve. Steve was the one that came up with it, and Nehemiah was the one that was like, well, how do we make sure that we get them in there? And Steve was like, well, we just put the people who have the life shields in there. And he was like, that could work, because I mean, Steve was the one who came up with the plan. He's the one that put the mechanics in place, and he was the one that executed it. I think it's all him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Casey was completely on board with it because when Casey showed up to the deliberation, she already knew the plan and was completely on board, and that's when they started executing it. So Steve was the mastermind of this. He is the MVP because of
he's the one that showed the willingness to rock the boat too. I don't know if there was anyone who I mean it sounded like they were talking about coming together to some extent, but it sounds like he was the one who was really like, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Well, he was also the one who had the power to do it at that point, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to win the challenge to make it happen. See, that was the thing. This whole thing could have fallen apart if one of their alliance didn't win. And the fact that Steve masterminded it and won the challenge, it's a no-brainer.
Well, even if Brad just says the name of his ex-wife instead of Katie, then this thing probably falls apart too.
So,
I've seen that joke online, okay? I want to make this very clear to all of our listeners or viewers here, okay? The way they edited that challenge, they could have edited those answers in any order possible, and it could be that Tori's name was already said prior to that. So let's give Brad a little bit of a break, although it is a funny joke.
At any of these trivia contests, they had a ton of answers because I didn't hear Wes's name get mentioned or Evelyn's name or just a lot of people you'd think would be right off the top. So,
and truthfully too, as a viewer and an editor, if you just say Tori, there's a large portion of the fan base that's going to go, Tori? Who's Tori?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tori?
They only use names that casual viewers of the main show would have heard.
When we talked about last week about how Trace and I think Trace was on the same page with me about this, about how it wasn't a good idea to send in Jody at that point. Because if you send in Jody, she goes against Sophia, she comes back, she's pissed off, and she'll be able to come back and work against you. This is a perfect chance to throw in Derrick. Right?
Yes.
He's going against Brad, someone that he will most likely lose against, or has a. What do you think the implied probability of?
Either way, it doesn't matter. Either way, they called Darrell, Brad, and Derrick the three-headed monster. So the goal was to get rid of one of them. And when Brad automatically goes into elimination and you're able to execute the other half of this plan, you are killing one of the biggest influencers in the house.
It's a complete no-brainer. I thought a super interesting moment that they added in at the beginning of the show, and I think Nehemiah said what everyone else watching the show has been thinking. He calls Derrick out when they're playing pool and tells Derrick that he needs to drop the strategic mastermind act, and it's just not him being himself. And I could not agree anymore.
There was that, and then also
Yes.
right before that too, like even like right at the beginning of the episode when they're coming into the house, Derrick like puts his arms around Jody and Kahad and is like, "Well, it looks like I got two people who have lifesavers, so it looks like I'll be okay for this week."
What is he doing out there, dude? Like what like
He's
who does he think
trying
he is?
too hard. Trying too hard is what he's doing.
Well, I think he's heard people in the past. I think what a lot of it is he's heard part of the reason he's not on the show is he's not tactical enough, or he's not like that's why people would tell him why he hasn't been casted recently. So then he's trying to compensate for that. That's my guess, but I don't know.
And then I would say again, he's trying too hard. He swung too far the pendulum the other way.
I don't even know what we want to talk about next. I mean, we can talk about.
Well, we can we go with the trivia too. I thought the trivia was great. I liked how they ordered it this time, where like he would give one question of whatever, and then they'd roll through it until somebody got one of the answers wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to do it because if you go earlier, then you have more options to pick from. Like you can just pick the easy Britney Spears song or the easy multi-time champion. But then it's also like if you go earlier and you get out, then you're out, and then you have more of a disadvantage that way.
This is by far the fairest way to do the trivia mission. Instead of just asking a question, you get 2 strikes or you just automatically get dumped. Like, you have a legitimate chance to maybe get saved or get knocked, depending on what the question is.
The part with John A where she talked about how she had read each Harry Potter book 5 times, and then she ends up not getting the last one. That was really funny.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah. She just has a confessional, too, so it was after the fact.
The mission lasts the perfect amount of time, too. At no point in the mission was I bored.
No.
And you also had Katie's meltdown at the beginning of the thing and just basically getting hooked up and saying, nope, I'll just go into elimination. Nope.
I guess we can touch on that a little bit. What do we think? So this is the part that I didn't get. Why did they feel like they needed to send in Ayanna to go against Katie? Why did Steve...
I didn't really get that either. To be
out of all of the other people that they could send in to go in against Katie, they choose Ayanna, which makes no sense to me.
Well,
I think it's a very simple reason, to be honest.
Why?
I think Ayanna literally has no allies. So you can throw her in and there's no repercussions.
Well, and I think part of it too is remember that they put Kendall in because they figured she'd be a vote for Derrick, so try to get out as many votes for him off the board.
That makes sense.
But then they also didn't want her to go in, so they wanted to take her vote out, but not her not to go in. And maybe Ayanna was the easiest way to do that. Everybody else had too many allies.
Why can't you throw in Jasmine or John A? Who are their real allies?
But like John Ace in that room with Darrell, and they were supposed to be allowed before Tina blew up everything, and you'd assume Jasmine's kind of attached to that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think that is very much what it is John A and Jasmine are kind of attached.